Good morning, everyone that's on. Happy Thursday or Friday Eve. I do want to get it to Stephen as quickly as possible. Obviously, we want him to be using most of the time, but if you have any questions as he's going through, put it in the Q&A at the bottom. Makes it easy for us to keep organized, and we'll go over as many of them as we can at the end to have Stephen answer. But before we get it to him, I do want to go through and have our team here at Heritage Escrow get a chance to introduce themselves as well. So I'm John Curry. I'm the sales executive out of the Balboa Park office. We have three great escrow officers here. It begins with Gianna Pino and our branch manager, Donna Hamilton. They handle all the residential and commercial escrows. And we're one of the unique offices and lucky enough to have a bulk escrow officer who is Debbie Howe. She's been with us for a long time and is amazing. I guess I'll defer to Jared next and we'll just go down the line.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jara Payne. I am the Heritage Escrow sales rep for Rancho Santa Fe, and I work here with Stephanie Clark and Kristen Bramble.
Marissa?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Marissa Tour. I am the sales rep for the Carlsbad branch here on Palomar Airport Road. And I have the pleasure of representing Holly Burt as our branch manager. And I represent Anella Mirashira Lindo here in our Carlsbad branch as well. I do want to give a quick shout out to our Escondido branch off Valley Parkway. Alicia Bagby and Kelly Pinero represent the escrow officers in that office. And like John said, go ahead and put any questions you have throughout the webinar in either the Q&A box or the chat box. And we'll make sure to get to all of those at the end of the webinar as well. So super excited to hear from Stephen today. And thank you everyone for joining us.
And last but not least, tomorrow you're muted.
Hey, there's a rookie for you. Good morning, everybody. Aloha. Thank you for joining us. I'm excited to hear from Stephen. I've heard wonderful things about him, so I'm excited about that. I have the pleasure of working with Carol Hankey in our Temecula branch, as well as Chanel Jones. They're wonderful, been around for a very long time. So there's lots of knowledge in our office. And I also wanted to give a shout out to our Irvine office. There's Janet Tilbury there, who's the branch manager. We have Holly Jesic and Tara Vo. So thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, ladies. And on to the man of the hour, Stephen Thomas. For those of you that aren't familiar with him, he's the chief economist that reports on housing. He has a degree in quantitative economics and decision sciences from the University of California, San Diego. And he's a California real estate broker with decades of experience. He started Reports on Housing back in 2004 as a way to communicate with buyers, sellers, and real estate professionals, basically tracking demand, inventory, distressed homes, and market data. So something just to reiterate, I mentioned earlier, for those of you that have joined since, any questions you have, put them in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to them at the end. But Stephen, it's all yours.
I appreciate it. I do not have the ability to share my screen, so I need that ability. So let me know when up. I've got it. We're good. So let's go ahead and get started. Plug in my clicker. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start off with some fun photos, just a hodgepodge of photos. Yes, we've moved on from 2020 to 2021. And have we had enough yet? There was plenty of these going around, and somebody actually got a tattoo.
Is that your tattoo?
Yeah, heck no. How about this one? Kids, grandpa and grandma are here. Just shows you the evolution, right? Pretty funny. I don't know if you saw this on my Facebook, but homeschooling, dad on phone, no barking. So my wife is gone right now with our littlest one, and we have a dog in the kennel right now, and the gardeners are here right now. So expect the dogs to bark. And this is just this is an MLS photo. I like to share funny MLS photos. Somebody actually sent this to me, and I just think this is great. Just an afterthought of the cabinet didn't fit, so they just kind of put it in there. How about this Tom Brady has been to more Super Bowls than there are active listings on the MLS right now.
Good one.
Sold over asking. Or if you want something more expensive, I can show you this again tomorrow. I saw this one this morning, had to share it. I'm going to wait until the market crashes. This is the market. Yeah. Wow. Seriously. Anyways, my background, quantitative economics, decision sciences major from UC San Diego, down the street from some of you on this Zoom. I've been in the business for 30 years, Orange County native, Capital Valley High School grad, 30 years, 9 kids, avid runner. And I brought the 6 on the right, and my wife brought the 2 on the upper left. I adopted her, she adopted mine. And then we had this bonus guy who next Monday turns 3. So pretty excited about that. Yes, I'm done because my slide is perfect. So no, I'm not having 10 kids. I've also been all over the press, from the New York Times all the way over to the Financial Times of London when Warren Buffett sold a house in Laguna Beach. Our company is Reports on Housing. It's your local real estate snapshot. It's really about not necessarily honing in on closed sales data, because that's a reflection of the past. Your clients want to know what in the world is going on right now, especially your buyers. Holidays are behind us. January closed sales are a reflection of what we placed to escrow at the end of the year. So not necessarily a good indicator as to what to follow. So I do talk about closed sales, not within my reports. I actually have just a chart that is included that people can look at closed sales data. Because what I want to talk about is looking forward. What is our total number of homes available to purchase today? That is our inventory versus demand. That's a snapshot of the last 30 days worth of pendings. So that snapshot will tell me, and that's active, under contract, and pending sales the last 30 days. I take a look at that, and that'll tell me how many new escrows we're opening up. And that's really an indicator of demand. And then also based upon that, we can find the expected market time. That's if you place your home on the market today, when are you going to open up escrow? That's what everybody cares about. That's the overall velocity, the speed of our vehicle moving down the freeway, which right now we're speeding. And my reports are used for the listing presentation. They're used for price reductions all the time. They're also used to get buyers off the fence. Those buyers that are saying, yeah, I'm going to wait until whatever, get them off the fence and into escrow. That's what it's about. It's about setting expectations for buyers and sellers, your neighbors, your family, your friends, because everybody has a darned opinion on real estate, but very few of those opinions are actually, they're looking at real solid data, which is what I do. So data is power. When you throw out data and numbers, it's very hard to refute it when people are saying, yeah, there's going to be this wave of foreclosures. And I write a report that basically shows why there's not going to be a wave. So this is what somebody said at one of my Zooms. You got my client an extra $35,000 by showing the buyer and their agent your last report. Thanks, Stephen. And then this was Facebook Live, where somebody used it to get a whole bunch of deals accepted on Saturday and opened escrow on Monday. And I have a bunch of reports that dot all over Southern California. Coming up in March, LA actually hits their 2-year anniversary, and San Diego hits their 2-year anniversary as well. So I have them all over SoCal. But my data for everywhere other than Orange County goes back to 2012, just not city by city and area by area if you're in the city of San Diego, which stretches for all the way up to Canada. I will have year-over-year data plus looking back to 2 years. And Orange County's data goes all the way back to 2004 when I started writing the report. So here's just a few reports, most recent. Lock it in. We'll talk about why buyers and sellers should lock and buy right now. Those people that say they want it to be slower, when's more inventory going to come on? That is, the longer they wait, the more expensive it's going to be and the higher the interest rates. So I talked about that in this report. In blazing beginning, we started this market, was the hottest market as far as the expected market time. That's the velocity. So if you're a seller, if you place your home on the market, when are you going to open up escrow? It was the lowest number that I've seen in all 5 counties since I started tracking it. In Orange County, that says a lot because I have the numbers going all the way back to 2004. So, and all the Southern California counties kind of jive together. I don't have the numbers past prior to 2012, but I can probably pretty much bet all of my 9 children that it was very, very similar. So boiling over. So already we were seeing that the market was absolutely way too hot for many people's liking, and I explain exactly what's going on. And then the most recent one that just came out for San Diego, Orange County, and Los Angeles. I did those, that was this week. Next week, we actually crunched the numbers today, goes out Monday, is for San Bernardino and Riverside counties, but it's bidding war. I talk about the why these bidding wars are happening, what's the best way to take advantage of that as a seller, and just buyers reading this alone, they'll understand this is what they're getting into is a bidding war situation. So go to reportsonhousing.com, you click on subscribe, and it is, there's a bunch of links at the bottom of the report. Every report's emailed to you. Those links are for printing it out, copy, cut, edit, paste, make it a part of your newsletter, postcards, whatever you want. Put your logo on it. That's the word. We have Excel spreadsheets, and we have an excerpt for social media, Facebook, websites, blogs, and then we have charts that are updated with every single report. And those charts are what I'm going to be using, some of those charts for this very presentation. This comes out every 2 weeks. And like I said, I vacillate between the coast and then the Inland Empire, and then we just switch it. It comes out every 2 weeks. It's $15 per month or $150 per year, and you get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code 2021 Escrows. That's for you guys, 2021 Escrows. And so let's talk about the United States economic outlook. But I need to talk a little bit about coronavirus. I used to talk about more, but the numbers are looking great, so I just have a couple charts for you. But the reason we're all fatigued, we're tired of talking about it. You can't really find that much news on it because the news on it's getting better and better, although there's variants of COVID. And why do I care about it as an economist? Well, there's this war that's going on that we can't really see, and that is not this vaccine, but this virus and this pandemic. And when you have a pandemic like what we have, it really curtails the way that people spend and move about, and it really changes what we do, which is we're not going to the movie theaters, we're not traveling. COVID-19 second wave is what we care about. And the reason we care about it so much is because what happens with the economy happens what happens with COVID actually happens to the economy. And that's what the Federal Reserve said a couple months ago. And so here's just a couple of slides. The United States, you could see, was looking awful, but this is where we're at right now. It's come down from where we were at 250,000 cases per day for 7 days to 104,000, and it's coming down pretty rapidly, which this chart gives me a lot of hope, because if you look at the difference between the summer and where we're at right now, it's not that big of a difference. If you looked at it where it was back in December, it was pretty awful. And but we've had 27.7 million cases, 104,000 on average for the last 7 days. In California too, it looks absolutely spectacular. I mean, we got way up there. We were one of the worst offenders in the United States. We were 3.4 million cases total, and we're now averaging 11,800 cases per day for the last 7 days. That's much better than near 60,000 cases that we were averaging before. So I'm very happy with where we're at. And as far as locking and unlocking, well, we're on the verge of unlocking. And I just saw one county where Eureka is, the upper left-hand side. They moved from purple to red. And we're all going to be doing that soon. We're going to be moving out of these tiers, and we're going to be opening up things. You can already feel a little bit more of giddy up in people's step, especially those people that have actually had the COVID vaccine. It's really been a life changer for so many different people. I don't know if you've talked to anybody that's received it, but it really makes a difference. The positivity rate is getting lower. We need it below 5%. California was one of the shining stars until we were one of the worst offenders, and now it's getting a lot better. And ICU availability went from 0% to 13.6%. So everything's moving in the right direction. So look for that to be changing over time. And so I care about it. I follow it. The reason I follow it is because, like I said, it affects the economy. And let's talk about a few things about the economy. Well, this is one of them that I'm sure that we've all been following. And this is where the real GDP. looks a lot stronger. It looked like it was going to be totally V-shaped, but then we saw what happened in the fourth quarter, and actually it's slowing down quite a bit, and it will continue to go up, but we're not going to surpass last year's GDP until the start of next year. So you can see that we've lost a bit of momentum, and we won't fully get back until we have pretty much the majority of our population vaccinated, and we have a bit to go. And jobless rate, this is one that's been really sticky. It did come down a little bit in the month of January, and you could in November and December it was flat, and October wasn't that much of a change. So what we've seen is it went way up as far as unemployment's concerned, and then it came way down, but then it's really sticky. We're kind of stuck here, and it's not going to come down very fast until more and more people get vaccinated and we open up things like entertainment, stadiums for sports, as well as travel and leisure and that type of thing. So unemployment rate sticky. It was at 6.5%. Now it's at 6.3%. And it will be sticky here for a while. You can see January, we actually added 49,000 jobs. It's not that much. And in December, we lost a few. So it's very sticky. It will stay here, but that was in the midst of the worst of the pandemic. So going forward, we should be adding jobs shortly. So we'll be watching that. And this is the jobs, the number of people that are actually employed. We're missing about 10 million jobs because we were fully employed back in at the start of last year, February of 2020. And since then, we're down about 10 million jobs. And you could see how it looked like it was totally improving, and now it's kind of stuck. It's not going to totally fix itself until, like I said, we're totally, a lot more Americans get vaccinated. So we'll be watching that very closely. This is the Purchase Application Index. This comes out on a weekly basis. It came out yesterday, and there were 5 weeks that were negative last year over year. But this last week was 16% up year over year, and it's been 38 straight weeks where we've had year over year gains. That is what has been this demand momentum. And we started seeing it in May, and it has just absolutely continued and does not seem to want to slow down. I imagine once we get to May, that's where year over year is going to change. And I put a big asterisk by comparing to last year. As soon as we get into this pandemic, everything's going to look wonderful. But as far as real estate's concerned, as soon as we get towards the summertime, it's going to start looking negative. And that's because last year's summer was really our spring market, because in the middle of the spring, we shut everything down. So when is America going to be back? What are we looking for? COVID-19 is the number one thing I'm watching, because what happens with COVID-19 happens with the rest of America's economy. So with that goes unemployment. With that goes the hard hit industries, one of those being apparel, and then travel, and then entertainment as well. Core retail sales, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about manufacturing. I'm not worried about new home sales, and I'm not worried about consumption. I'm just worried about those first three, and all those, the second and third have a lot to do with COVID. So that's why we follow it so religiously as economists. And the vaccine, we're getting vaccinated. There's 2 that are approved. There's actually a third one that's coming to market right now, and that's Johnson & Johnson. So there will be a third vaccine that rolls out, and that will help us get vaccinated even quicker, which is great. As far as the vaccine rollout is concerned, there have been 66 million doses that have been distributed across the United States. 44.8 million of those doses have actually gone into arms. So that 44,800,000 represents 14% of our population. In order to get to herd immunity, we need to get to 70%. So we have quite a bit to go, but at least we're moving in the right direction, and it's happening at a more rapid pace right now. So we will continue to watch that because it's very important to the rest of the economy. As far as forbearance is concerned, this is primarily why we're not going to get this wave of foreclosures that people are talking about. Everybody are doomsdayers, and they look to see, because forbearance, those are all the people that are also delinquent because they are not paying their mortgage. So there's an increase in delinquency, but even in the last week, it moved down from 5.38% to 5.35%. There's 2.7 million people in forbearance. That sounds like a lot, but there were 4.3 million in June. Nobody talks about this story enough because it's very complicated, and it would take me an entire presentation to talk about it. But just understand this, that of all the people that are in forbearance, 90% of them have at least 10% equity, which means that 90%, if push comes to shove and they have to sell their home, they literally can. And they don't have to be a short seller foreclosure. They can dip into their equity and sell their house. That's what it's about. So they're not going to be foreclosures or distressed. That will be more people that come to market, but we'll welcome more people to market. And a lot of those people that come out of forbearance actually end up refinancing, paying off things, refinancing, and doing different things along those lines. There's a lot of them are current when they come out. So it's not going to necessarily be the wave. There will be more foreclosures next year. It'll be a ripple, not a wave. So, and then the United States has been busy. Federal Reserve's done everything in their power, and including buying our loans. I wish they'd stop it because that would help make interest rates rise. I think we need higher interest rates at this point because we're going to fuel an asset bubble if we continue to go at the pace we are in real estate. But the Capitol needs to pass a bill, and that's what they're working on. They're working on Relief Bill number 5. We had 3 at the beginning of the year, and then a 4th one at the very end of December. And now that we have a new administration and the Democratic Party has Congress as well as the White House, we're going to get a 5th package. We need that 5th package. Economists agree also on this. And that's because what these relief packages do is there's a bridge from where we are today to when we're totally vaccinated. There are some people that cannot come back in the travel, in the apparel, in the entertainment. I talked about those. Those people cannot come back until we're properly vaccinated. And that's what this bridge is meant to do. And it's also here to help out landlords and things like that. So it's not just the people that are tenants and unemployed, it's landlords, it's all that. So the package is pretty detailed. This will probably be the last package that we need. And then we might need some stimulus and airlines and things like that. But that is further down the road. So expect this relief package to come. So let's talk about the San Diego and Riverside housing markets. And housing is absolutely spectacularly hot. But it's so hot that I can't even believe we're even talking about this first-time home buyers tax credit. This is the most ridiculous thing I can imagine. We already have an inferno, this big gigantic fire. That's how hot our market is. Do we need more buyer demand right now? Absolutely not. My suggestion is first-time home sellers tax credit. That's what I would suggest. And I actually hope that NAR and CAR do their due diligence to make sure that this doesn't happen. My fear is that they're going to do nothing and we're going to have a problem. We do not need to further amplify the demand side of the equation. That is not where there is an issue right now. So I don't even understand why we're talking about it right now. So I am totally rooting against this. 2021 feels a lot like 2013 if you were in that marketplace, except it's worse. And what I mean by it's worse is the expected market time has dropped to such a level that properties come on the market and they instantaneously fill up with buyer showings, and then we get lots of offers, and buyers they generate tons of offers. Buyers are having a hard time finding a property, and sellers think that their poop doesn't stink, and they wonder if they could have got an additional $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and they already got the record in the area. So this is where it's very frustrating for buyers, sellers, and agents in navigating through this market. And that's what 2013, that's how I remembered it. And that's where 2021 is starting out, and we'll probably feel a lot like, and it has a lot to do with supply and demand. So the San Diego and Riverside County housing supply, let's talk about it. This is the San Diego housing supply. And if I draw a line across, we've never been this low. San Diego County is less than Orange County, and yet it is so much larger in scope and size, and yet you guys have nothing on the market in San Diego. It's the lowest level since tracking began in 2012, and I'm going to argue that it's probably the lowest level since prior to the first decade of the 2000s. So just understand that that is extremely low. This is where we're at. February 4th, that's when I last did San Diego, 2,355. It was down 3% or down 61 homes in a 2-week period. There really is not much more down than it should go, but there's not enough homes that are coming on to satiate the appetite of the immense demand that we have, which is all driven by interest rates. Last year, we were at 4,651. It's at 97% more. It's almost double where we are today. It is knocking on the door of double. And today we're at 2,277 homes on the market. It's down another 3%. So you can see we're actually going the wrong direction in San Diego. This is a time where it's actually usually slightly rising or flat, and we're going down, and that's because not enough homes are coming on. And even the stuff that's ugly and stinks and not priced right and stuff is getting action in this kind of a marketplace. So if you look at, this is where we are for Riverside County. If I draw a line across, same thing. This is the lowest level since, it shouldn't say since 2004, it should say since 2012. It's even prior to 2004. So I can bet my 9 children on it. But if we look at the active listing inventory and where we were at, this is actually 2 weeks ago today. January 28th, we were at 2,849, because that's when I crunched the numbers, and that's what this chart reflects. So it's 2 weeks ago. I'm doing a new one today. It's down 9% or 271 homes during that 2-week period. Well, last year we were at 7,197. That is 152% more homes in the market compared to today. That is way more than double. And it's like 2.5 times. I'm concerned about this. Riverside County and San Bernardino County are actually the two counties in the United States that have dropped the most in terms of inventory across the US, San Bernardino and Riverside County. So just totally understand that. It's hard to believe that we could actually go down more, but we did. In the last 2 weeks, I just crunched this morning. My jaw dropped. I picked it up for this presentation. We're at 2,541. That's down 11% from 2 weeks ago. That's insane. That's down 300, right? 300 homes again. So what's happening right now is this is the winter market. It's usually when supply slightly rises, but due to the fact that there's so much demand that supply is actually slightly dropping right now. So it's only slight that anything happens during the winter market. Gone are the holidays, now we're in winter. And what we're experiencing as far as this winter market is we're going to continue to slightly go down until we get towards the middle to end of March. And that's where we enter the spring market. And then at the spring market, we're going to see a rise, but it's only going to be slight because demand is so strong with low interest rates. We need higher interest rates. We're going to get higher interest rates, but it's not really going to affect the market until we get towards the second half of the year. And we will see an increase in the inventory through the second half. That does not mean we're going to see prices go down. If you look at it, we're just going to get to year over year matching what we were last year when it was sensationally low. So don't expect, because some of these houses are lingering, that we're going to get any kind of a buyer's market. That's not what I'm saying. And as far as Riverside's concerned, this will continue to go down, and until, same thing, we hit that spring market, and then it will slightly go up, and then it will go up further. And like I said, it's going to go to levels like it was last year. So, and I don't expect us to peak until later on in the year. Typically, we peak during the summer months. This time around, we are not going to peak until we hit the probably the fall, and that has a lot to do with the rise in interest rates. So we have not enough homes on the market, and a lot of people accuse it of originally COVID-19. COVID-19 is suppressing supply. It did at first. It's no longer doing that. The real thing that's suppressing supply right now is this thing that everybody says, but there's nothing to buy. I get that, and now there's plenty of homeowners that are stating it, where we need to talk to homeowners out there that they can actually sell their house and make it contingent on finding a replacement property. I actually state that in this latest report that I put together called Bidding War. because some of these homeowners need to understand they can still purchase. They just need to be subject to finding something, because there is going to be more that comes on within the next 30 days. So as far as compared to the 5-year average, what's going on in San Diego County? Well, in 2020, we were actually down 10%. This has everything to do with COVID. It was down 5,218 homes. But in the month of December, there actually is up 10%. So there's actually 220 more homes that came on the market compared to the 5-year average. But then in January, and this has everything to do with not enough homes on the market, so homeowners don't want to get in. And remember, a lot of homeowners say, I'm waiting until spring. Remember, spring is not until later on down the road. That's not until the end of next month. So, but in January, it's preventing even more people from coming on because there's not enough product. It was down 24%. We're missing 1,000 homes. Demand would be even stronger if we had all these extra homes, but for some reason, there aren't homeowners coming on. And I'm pretty sure that has a lot to do with, but there's not enough homes on the market for me to purchase. Riverside County, kind of the same story, down 11% or 5,645 homes compared to the 5-year average. In December, it was up 1% or an extra 33 homes. But what does that tell you? That tells you that was compared to the 5-year average, that the number of homes coming on the market was kind of a normal month for Riverside. But then we got into this last month and we were down another 992, missing 23%. So what's going on is that overall, there's not enough homes on the market to purchase replacement property. So people are staying put. And in Riverside, they're watching their values go up so much that they kind of want to stay put before they do something, because they're riding this wave of happiness. So it's keeping people locked into their homes as well. But everybody's paying attention to the market. And eventually what's going to happen is more and more people are going to come on, because the market is so hot, it's going to lure homeowners to come on the market. And that we'll stay tuned for that throughout this year. I'll be broadcasting that, talking about it in almost every report. Year-over-year inventory, you can see we're down across the board. LA, not as much as the rest. LA has a little bit of an issue. I have a lot of people asking me questions in Los Angeles County, and a lot of it has to do with people don't want to live in Los Angeles County. The exodus out of California is more of the exodus out of LA and San Francisco than it is out of some other areas. We have plenty of demand. All these people are saying, yeah, but everybody's moving. There are people that are moving out of state, but there's a lot of people still, there's plenty of buyers, more buyers than there are sellers that are out there. So let's talk about demand. The last 30 days worth of pendings and active under contract. It is absolutely powerful. COVID-19 is not suppressing demand, hasn't since May. And mortgage interest rates are absolutely the reason why this is so incredibly hot. If you look at where mortgage rates are at, they're at 2.73%. It's actually been there for like 2 weeks in a row, and it's kind of flat and it's not changing much right now. That will rise down the road, because we were at 2.65% a month ago, and it actually has risen slightly, and we'll get into that. But these low mortgage rates are the rocket fuel that is jetting us forward, and it's making all these people just pile on to showing our houses. My brother-in-law placed a home on the market. I think it was in Aliso Viejo. I think it was, I can't remember. It was at $650,000. And he put it on at 11 o'clock and had the rest of the day all booked within an hour. So this is what's going on. It's kind of like trying to get concert tickets to like U2 back in the 80s when I was a kid. Very hard. The asterisk, though, you're not going to get this as big of a flood of people because everybody's tuned into the market. When something comes on grossly overpriced, which there are properties, those will linger. And I really argue as to why you need to price it at fair market value. And I do it in this last report called Bidding Wars, because you want to take advantage of this bidding war. If you price it at the fair market value, that's pricing it where it should be, or even maybe even a little less. I didn't talk about that in the report, but maybe even a little less. You are going to get so much activity. This was actually an agent that took one of my reports, did it in San Diego County. This is what properly pricing your property does. You get this slew of showings. It was an auction-like atmosphere. I mentioned how it's an auction-like atmosphere within that report too, because we'll get a ton of showings. Those showings are huge. Plenty of showings and multiple offers. It goes for definitely over asking price if you price it at that fair market value. And if you just get asking price, it means that you are tapping into the market as best as possible. If you overprice, you don't get as many offers, and to generate asking or above is very, very, very difficult to do. And actually, I've proven it in some reports. You'll if you reduce it too much, the price, because you overpriced it to begin with, you will actually leave money on the table. So plenty of homes are going to be sold for asking right now, and that's just the nature of this market. And demand year over year, this is what it looks like in San Diego. February 4th, 3,033. That was up 24%, or 588 pendings in a 2-week period of time. Huge. And if I look at last year compared to this year, it's continuing to go this pace, but I expect it to definitely outstrip last year going forward in the next, over the course of the next 4 weeks. But last year we had 9% less than where we are today. We have record low inventory, and I'd argue that this number would be a lot higher. We'd have a lot more pending sales if we just had more homes on the market, which we are not getting because they're not coming on because there's not enough homes on the market. Today, 3,137. So we were able to go up another 104 homes, which is up 3% since last Thursday in San Diego County. It's the strongest start to February since 2017. Just understand that. And Riverside County demand year over year, this is where we're at. This is huge. January 28th, it's 3,292. That was 2 weeks ago. That was up 16%, up 455 pending sales. Last year, we were at 2,462. That was 25% less. Today, I just snapped the number, 3,714, up 13%. So you can see we are just screaming above where we were at in the prior years. And that just is because Riverside and San Bernardino are a couple of the hottest markets in the US right now. So strongest start to the year since tracking has begun for Riverside back to 2012. It is exceptional right now to be a homeowner in Riverside County and placing your home on the market. So here we go. We're the winter market. That's where demand surges. But remember, inventory is actually slightly dropping, usually slightly rises, but demand surges, which is why the market gets hotter and hotter right around the Super Bowl on. This year, it was right around January 2nd on, and it's been absolutely hot. Demand, it usually peaks here between April and May. And this was our 2020 peak, was at the start of September. And where are we going to go from here? It's going to continue to go up for San Diego County, and then it's going to go, it'll slightly rise until it peaks someplace towards probably the end of May, and then it'll start to come down. That's a normal market. And we're going to have a normal seasonality. So those people that place their home on the market in May and June, they're actually competing against more people because there are more homes that come on the market in May than any other month. And that's total number of homes being placed on the market. It's actually April, May, June, and then it starts to taper off just a bit for July and August, but it's elevated, which is why the market slows a little bit as we get into the summer months. So Riverside County demand year over year, this is where we typically peak. You can see where we typically peak is where we were in the midst of a major pandemic. And 2020 peak happened in the middle of August. And where are we going to go from here? We're shooting upwards towards 3,700. And then we're going to start to see this slow down a little bit, the pace, but it's still going to continue to go up until we get peak somewhere around the end of May. And then it will start to come down from there. So there will be a point where year over year demand is going to look less than it was the prior year. And that is why we can't really be looking at year over year data, because look at it in May, year over year data is going to look ridiculously better than it was last year. And that's just because we didn't have a spring market. We moved it to the summer, and then our summer became, our summer market was done during the fall. Almost didn't have a fall market. So year over year demand across Southern California is way up. Riverside County is up the most. San Bernardino is pretty strong. LA is pretty strong right now. Demand, remember, I just want to do a repeat. This is what's happening during the winter. Demand surges. The supply typically slightly rises. In this case, supply slightly drops. And then the spring market, what normally typically happens, demand climbs and peaks in May, typically, and supply rises. So we're going to get a rise finally in the supply, which is going to be a welcome relief, but we're not going to really notice that much of a difference until we get to probably around the summer market. And that's where the start of middle of June is where you start to see things totally shift. Slows down a little bit. But right now we're traveling at a pace of about 130 miles per hour up the 5 freeway or up the 15, pick your poison. We're going way too fast for my liking. I actually am rooting for more inventory and interest rates to rise. That is the only way that we're going to see that the market cools a bit. So that's the only thing that I'm totally rooting for right now. I actually think it's too hot. We're still going to be doing plenty of transactions regardless of how fast we go. I just don't like how fast we're moving. So the expected market time year over year, this is where it has dropped from. This is San Diego. On February 4th, it was at 23 days. It dropped 7 days within a 2-week period of time. And last year we were at 50-day market. I didn't even draw that right, but anyways, red to green. Today we're at 22 days. That is ridiculous. That is, we've even gone down. It's hotter since last Thursday to today. Anything in the 20s means we're dealing with instantaneous offers. And if you look at the expected market time in San Diego, we've never been here before. It was really busy in 2013. You could see it way over there where it got really low, but we're way, way lower than there. Anything in the 20s is absurd. And I never thought we'd get to the 20s in my lifetime again, and here we are. So lowest levels since tracking period, just understand that. I think it's arguably the lowest levels in decades. And this is where Riverside County is. January 28th, it was at 26 days. It was down 7 days in a 2-week period. Last year, we were 88 days, way different than where we are today. Today, we're at 21 days. We've shed another 5 days. This is dumb, ridiculous. I'm not rooting for how hot this is. So today we have San Diego County and Riverside County operating at too fast of a speed, and they actually should go to jail. That's how fast it is. It's reckless at this point. So if you look at this, this is where Riverside County is right now. It drops to below the record low that they hit earlier in 2020 during the summertime, and now it's at levels just I have not seen before. It pales. I can't even find another time that's even close to this. So it's lowest level since tracking. And as far as the expected market time year over year, where are we headed? Well, you can see anything below this blue line is what I refer to as a hot seller's market. Between the blue and black is a slight seller's market. Above the black is balanced, doesn't favor buyers or sellers. And even further up is a buyer's market that's above 120 days. We're not even anywhere close to it. We're at hot seller's market, which means values are going up way, way too fast when we get this low. This is literally, we are running on empty, and we're going to go down a little bit further. And then once we get to around April, I'm going to see a slight rise. You're not going to feel it, but I'm going to see it in the data, and it won't be until, and then I'll see where we go from June on. But I imagine from there, it's going to be slightly, it'll be flat for the summer months, and then it's going to increase a little bit during the fall. So Riverside, same thing. Below that blue is a hot seller's market. Look how far below we are in the blue for them as well. For Riverside County, it is just going to continue to go down, and then it's going to only slightly go up. You're not going to feel the difference. So home values are on the rise. They're screaming up right now at a rapid rate. It has everything to do with how rapid the market is. And if I show you the expected market time by a price range, in below 1 million, it's at 17 days. That's like 2 weeks. That basically is enough time to place your home on the market, negotiate everything, and then you place it into escrow. So that's ridiculous. But even 1 to 1.25 is at 26 days. 1.25 to 1.5 is at 27 days. And even at 1.5 to 2 million is at 40 days. That's not bad. Only like a 3-month period of time for 2 to 4 million. I've heard that the luxury market is absolutely off the hook. Look at where it's at right now, 179 days right now compared to last year at this time. We weren't even in a pandemic, 517 days. There's plenty of activity in the upper range. And a lot of those are transplants moving towards San Diego County because luxury price per square foot and all that stuff is probably the strongest in all of Southern California if we want to get along the coast. You get more bang for your buck. Riverside County, you could see same thing. 0 to 400 is like a different animal, but it's still at 26 days, but 4 to 500 is at 16 days and 5 to 650 is at 19 days. That's just ridiculous. 650 to 8, it's 27 days. It's 34 days, 8 to million. Even 1 to 1.5 million Riverside County is at 50 days, and it's only 90 days of 1.5 million plus. Very, very strong luxury market in Riverside County as well. Across Southern California, except LA is having a little bit of an issue with their luxury market compared to the rest of SoCal. Interest rates, where are they headed? Where are we going from here? Well, this is where interest rates have been since 1980. They've come down to where we are, we're record level. And it looks like, boy, yeah, it continue to go down towards zero. We should be in the ones sometime soon. No, that's actually not correct. We only went down to this ridiculously low level below 3% because we had this once in a lifetime pandemic where everybody flooded treasuries and bought them. When you have that many people that buy long-term debt, that's 10-year and 30-year United States treasuries, everywhere around the world, they bought our US treasuries. And the reason is because it's a flight to safety. And this is what happened over time since 1980. You could see it also has come down. We had interest rates at 18% back in 1980, and we had bonds that paid more than 15% back in 1980. Now we had bonds that dropped to below 1%, and as a result, we had interest rates in the 2s. But what's happened, and why do I bring this up, this 10-year and 30-year? Because what happens with 10-year treasuries is what happens to 30-year bonds. Except I need to tell you just a tiny little story. That black line is kind of like the normal amount between the 10-year and 30-year. It's called the spread. And what happens in the 10-year treasury will tell you what's going to happen with mortgage rates. So I follow the 10-year treasury all the time. However, once we went into this pandemic, the lending engine, what happens underneath of the hood, what runs the functioning of lenders was broken when we went into this pandemic, and it was very hard to get many loans. So as a result, we should have had interest rates in the low 2s, even 2%, and instead we had interest rates that rose, and that was what happened when we initially went into the pandemic. But over time, it has gotten smaller. As a matter of fact, where it is right now is better than what we normally see in the spread. And that means that any change in the 10-year is going to affect the 30-year mortgage from this point forward. That's what happens when it gets this tight where it is right now. So, and a lot of this is market manipulation from the Fed. That's why it is as tight as it is right now, because lenders are willing to lend, and their paper is getting bought by the secondary market of the Federal Reserve. 10-year treasury, this is as of actually this morning, it's just 1.163. You can see back in the end of 2018, start of 2019, we had really high interest rates. We had interest rates that hit 5%. They were at 5% because the 10-year treasury blew above 3%. Then we got the treasury go below 1% for the first time ever, which is why we had interest rates below 3% for the first time ever. But what's happened since? In the last 6 months, we've actually seen this rise, but you haven't seen this rise in interest rates. And that's because, remember, I told you that spread was broken, but now that spread has fixed. And now since the first of this year, we've actually seen a rise in interest rates from that 2.65% to where we are today, right about 2.73%. So that is, and we're going to continue to see this rise. And that is because what affects the 10-year treasury is good news. When we have a lot of good news with the economy, people say, I don't want to buy long-term debt. I want to buy short stuff. I want to buy stuff because the economy is churning. I'm going to buy stocks and bonds, not stocks, and invest in things. So that's what happens to equities. It's a flight away from safety to other things, short-term stuff. So COVID-19 vaccine, more news along this. As more people get vaccinated, you're going to see that the 10-year starts to rise slowly but surely, which it has been doing. The relief bill that is coming forward, that is also making the 10-year treasury rise. The stimulus packages down the road for like the airline industry or something like that, bailouts that you're going to hear about down the road, those will actually help the 10-year go up. Better jobs reports, that's going to help out. Good economic data, that's going to help out. As more and more people get vaccinated, I actually think we're going to have an economic boom the second half of 2021. because a lot of people are going to feel free. They're going to feel like they can do things. They're going to feel like they can travel a little bit more and go out to eat a little bit more and do a lot more. And that's going to invigorate the economy. So we're going to get kind of an economic boom. So if you remember back to the Spanish influenza, which you don't, it's afterwards we had the roaring 20s. They're talking about once we get to 2022, they're talking about it being like the roaring 20s, 2022, 2023. I actually think it's going to happen faster than that because that's what we do. We do things faster nowadays. So as a result, I think interest rates are going to rise on the backs of the 10-year treasury going up. So that's why I'm telling people lock it in. Not only are rates rising, our rates rising, but so are values, which is why you want to lock in the mortgage rate as quickly as you possibly can. Buyers, I know they're frustrated, but they have nothing to blame but low mortgage rates because yes, things can slow down more as interest rates rise. What are they waiting for? Higher interest rates? That doesn't make sense. Because if you look at mortgage rates 1 year ago compared to today, and actually I'd have to redo it, but 2.77% is close enough to today. For a $700,000 mortgage, you're looking at a monthly savings of $318 per month, just compared to where interest rates were 1 year ago for a $700,000 mortgage. That's a $3,816 annual savings. If you compare it to when they were at 5%, that's the bottom portion of this chart, you're looking at saving $900 per month, just about over $10,000 per year. And as far as how much of a home you can afford, if you want 20% down, just principal and interest, and $3,000 per month payment, last year you were looking at an $825,000 house. This year you're looking at a $916,000 house. That's $91,000 extra purchasing power in a home. Compared to 2018, with 5% interest rates now for $3,000 a month, you could only afford a $700,000 house. The difference is $218,000 just about. And if you look, I actually think interest rates are going to move all the way up to 3.5%. So if you look at where you're able to purchase today, about 925, to where you are able to purchase at the end of this year when interest rates are 3.5%, which is still a rock solid rate, you're looking at an $835,000 house. You just lost $90,000 in purchasing power with values that are higher as well at the end of this year. Do not wait. That's my bottom line picture. Market overview. Generation Xers, it was kind of a dud of a generation. Baby boomers were pretty darned good. Millennials are pretty darned phenomenal. Baby boomers were awesome. Millennials are great. They're even better as far as what we're about to hit. This year, for the next 4 years, we're actually going to get more people that are going to be at the first-time home buyer prime age. They're going to arrive at 32 years of age. It actually, if you look at Generation Xers, we haven't had this many people. So there's more buyers that are going to be entering in the, looking for a home, entering the market than we've seen in 25 years. So if you kind of like put your head around that, that means there's more demand. Besides low interest rates, there are more buyers that are interested. That's kind of like a double whammy that nobody's talking about that we need to pay attention to, which is why we need rates to rise. Because planning to buy a home in the next 12 months, this was done by Keeping Current Matters. It's actually done by the NAHB, but they put a nice, lovely chart together, which I'm sharing. If you look at this, millennials are the ones that want to purchase. It's not Generation Xers, it's not boomers. They want to purchase. Look at that. From the third quarter of 2019 to third quarter of 2020, 22% are looking to buy within the next 12 months. That's pretty huge. And as far as those foreclosures are concerned, please stop talking about it. There will not be a wave. It's just a ripple. I told you I can go into all the details, but understand that the housing stock is extremely strong, and they're not talking about all these people that are in forbearance. They had to fully qualify for their mortgage. This isn't the where we pulled money out of our homes like piggy banks. It's not where we had pick payment plans or subprime mortgages. This is a totally different situation. We have a healthy housing stock, and we have demand through the roof, and it's going up. So throw a few more properties on the market because they need to sell. It's not going to hurt things. A few more short sales and foreclosures by the end of the year is not going to hurt things. We're not going to get a wave. We're going to go from nothing, which is currently what's on the market to nearly nothing more, but you're not going to notice it across Southern California. It's going to be close to 2016 or 2017 foreclosures and distressed data after I totally looked at it. That means that in 2016 and 2017, you weren't looking for foreclosures or short sales. You're not going to look for them again as well at the end of this year. So there will be no wave. As far as the closed sales are concerned, this is San Diego. I'm not even going to get into it. I know January we're just crunching the numbers today because this is the day that we do it. The 10th of the month is usually when we take a look at it. We need at least 10 days for the MLS to properly catch up to what really closed for the prior month. And I just know January is way over year. If you see this, we actually had a record year, not a record year, but we sold more homes in 2020 than we did in 2019 in San Diego County. Riverside County, same picture, where at the end of the year, we kept on doing way better year over year. And January is starting off the same way. Year over year, we're way off the charts. And as far as luxury is concerned, San Diego, this is 1,250,000 plus. If you look at this, luxury is off the charts. Look at that. And then if you look at Riverside County, there's 650,000 plus. They're way off the charts, more than double in December. And I can tell you this continues in January, it will continue in February. Luxury is a disproportionate number of the closed sales right now. There is a lot of people in the lower ranges that are not placing their homes on the market. They're kind of like staying put. They could be the people in forbearance in some areas. And there are also people that just, they don't feel like that there's anything for them to move up to, because the range that they're moving up to is probably the hottest range, and those lower ranges trying to move to that middle range, there's just nothing on the market. So I'm going to give you kind of what my forecast was and kind of what my thoughts are. This is what I was talking about from September on. Frustrated buyers motivated by low rates and willing to stretch the asking price. That is where we're at right now. This will continue for the first several months of the year. And then return of the unrealistic overpriced seller. This is going to come to haunt homeowners towards the second half of the year. They'll get away with overpricing. They're just not going to be able to get as much net wise when they overprice, because the market can come up to their value. But they towards the end of the year, those are the homes that will sit, and those are the homes that will either have to reduce their price or pull their homes off the market completely. So rates will rise from 2.75%, right around where they are today, to at the end of the year, 3.5%. Available homes will be low until the second half of the year. And this is what I was talking about from the very beginning. So I said that we're going to have a problem that is going to get to record low territory, and that's where we're at. Demand juiced. There will be bidding wars. And then total sales up 5 to 10% over 2020. For Riverside and San Diego County, I'm pretty sure it's going to be close to that 10% or maybe even more. So we'll just have to stay tuned to see how we need interest rates to go up for it to cool things down a bit. Values rise between 6 to 10%. So we're going to see home values go up. It could be even more as well. I don't know. We're just going to have to watch those interest rates. Distress rises, but no wave. I talked about that. And luxury thrives in the spring and summer, then downshifts a bit for the second half of the year. We haven't seen that downshift for a while because it's been going, the ride's good, but there is a point in luxury where the waters are going to get a little more tepid. It's like when you're surfing and all of a sudden there's no sets. That's what the autumn and winter market is going to feel like at the end of this year. We're going to hit these normal housing cycles. Spring is the absolute best, and this is in terms of demand, pending sales activity. Closed sales, we close more in summer, but those are from pending sales that we place into escrow during the spring. So spring is the best in terms of demand, then summer, then we downshift in autumn, and then it's the holidays and winter market. So go to reportsonhousing.com, click on subscribe, and skip Starbucks, and instead, we've all learned to brew coffee. So skip Starbucks, get lots and lots of cash instead, and then go back and you utilize the report that you invest in and go back to Starbucks at that time. So it's $15 per month or $150 per year. You get a month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code 2021 Escrows. And there's a sample report section at the website, Reports on Housing. And stay tuned tomorrow. I'm doing my first housing debrief. I've done them. I did 52 episodes. from once we went into this pandemic all the way until I hung it up at the beginning of December. And then I'm starting it again this Friday, Facebook Live. Just go to @SoCalSteven. You do not have to be my friend in order to watch it. And it's going to be a short 15, 20-minute video, or actually live. So we do have a business page, reports on housing, and I can now open it up to Q&A. I'm stopping my sharing, and let's see if we have any questions or answers. I can answer them. So anybody have any questions that are out there?
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
You touched on something partway through the presentation about how to figure out the listing price. I've been talking to a lot of newer realtors who are getting listings, so they're doing something right. It's impressive in itself. But I've talked to one that was managing over 40 offers. So obviously they listed it a little too low, but they're battling that I don't want to list it too high and not get any offers. So they're listing it lower. Like, how is the economics of this market affecting the listing price? Or how can they wrap their minds around how to evaluate it? Yeah.
My whole thing is this market is so hot. If you're in between that 750 to $1 million and 5 to 650 in Riverside County, those are like the really hottest points of the marketplace. However, even though they're so darn hot, I would still be the one that I would rather deal with that many offers. It's like you have such a hot commodity that trying to overprice it and take advantage of it that way is not the way that auctions work. If you want to get the most bang for your buck, you want everybody competing against each other for your property. So the best way to do that is to properly price it, because once you start doing that where you try to figure out how much more you're going to pad it, you're actually going to get fewer offers, where there are people that have these escalation clauses where they say, I'll pay $10,000 more than the highest bid. There's different things like that come in when you have that many offers that you're dealing with, and you will get more if you strategize and you pit them all against each other. Because the way that I arrive at the fair market value is take a look at all the comps. You want to look, and it's very hard to pull comps, but it's kind of like you have to be like into forensics. Like totally study everything, pick apart everything that you can find and really extrapolate the value. It's pending sales, trying to talk to those agents on the other side, trying to get the actual, what is it in escrow for? Because that always helps as well, because those will be closed sales. If you are able to tell an appraiser, this one's going in, it's going to close before we do, and it is going to go for $10,000, $15,000 above list, that is something that they can watch, and they can even adjust their appraisal down the road. So I would rather do it that way, because we're gonna wind up dealing with appraisal issues unless you're gonna go all cash. And unless you have all cash offers that are above at that price, I want to deal with everything, and I want those cash to feel king, and I want to get as many people fighting over my bait as much as possible. So I'm gonna be very, and I'm gonna throw out active listings too. I'm not looking at active listings. That just does not help. I'm just looking at pending sales activity and recent close sales, especially with the market skyrocketing the way it is right now. You really need recent activity. And then when you go to appraise, you hand them my housing report, because I only have a few appraisers that actually have my housing report. So
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, we did have another question come in. Can you talk about the appraisal coming in at value?
When it comes in at value, yay.
Another question too. Have you looked at the ethnicity breakdown of people buying? Just curious.
Yeah, I hope I answered the appraisal issue. If you have it come in at value, that's absolutely fantastic. We're going to have more and more appraisal issues going forward, and that's just the nature of this market. People are going, yeah, Stephen, when is this going to right itself? It is hard being an appraiser. I mean, you're going to get beat up. This is a thankless part of the marketplace, because they actually have to justify the values. So we have to do our due diligence in finding everything we possibly can, even working with your title company to get anything that went off market. So you have everything in your power to give to these to the appraiser. So that's what we're all cheering for, is it comes in at value. The problem is going to be when there's a discrepancy. And that's why I would use my report and do everything I can. Have you looked at the ethnicity breakdown of people buying? I have not. I know that CAR does a little bit. They do a surname thing that they do. They try not to get into too much about ethnicity because they don't want to get in the weeds in that, but they'll talk about surnames and the popularity of certain surnames so they understand it. So it's not something I can really track. I'm looking at data that is of course provided by the MLSs, and they don't have anything ethnicity. So I rely on people to do their surveys to figure all that stuff out. And a lot of that has to be done by A, survey, and B, they actually will dissect it based upon name as well. Any other questions that are out there? So yeah, if they do have questions, they can come. They can come to my Facebook Live.
And Stephen, I can say the ones we usually get after the fact is the recording going to be live that we can send them, and are the slides going to be available?
Yeah, you can definitely. You have my permission to go ahead and give this, and I'll send you a copy of the slides as well, John.
Perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
I think that's all we got, unless something else is, or something came in.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
so
so
much, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Well, everybody have a good one. Thanks much. Enjoy the rest of your day.